Rob, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. And how about yourself?
I am enjoying myself. I'm keeping myself warm, even though it's a little bit cold here in my office room, but I'm sure our conversation is going to warm us up.
Yeah, well, try living in Invercargill, then you'll know what cold is. We're really, very lucky in Auckland, I think.
Mm, yes. Rob, I want to start with a question because your company, most of what you do right now is a little bit about technology and consulting companies and consulting teams. So with most of what you do, consulting companies, teams, productivity on productivity and growth strategy, it's quite a unique business. How did you get into this? How did you start with your business?
I'm really driven from making work easy, and that's really our motto, making business easy. And because when you get the technology and productivity and the flow of leads right, then life and business is very different because you have an ample supply of leads. And that's what drives me from the many years in business of not having it right and sort of struggling to pay the bills,
Yeah.
and then learning the principles of flow. And when you get your brand and your business right, and then you have this great supply of leads, that's what drives me from helping people. It's really satisfying.
Yeah, yeah. So you started in a slightly different field and shifted to this field, haven't you?
Well, it's been 6.5 years in the business, but originally it was more about culture
Mm-hmm.
and building teams. But because my background has been in technology and my passion for technology, it has moved into the technology strategy for growth and for high performance teams.
Yeah.
And it's just really taken off in the more recent years when the combination has come together. Because
Mm-hmm.
at the moment there's such a big shift in technology and evolution in the way people work and think. That's just a really exciting area which I love working in.
Yeah, yeah, and so there must have been an explosion in interest in what you do and the tools that you introduce right now with really the whole world going virtual, hasn't it?
It's been a crazy, or a good crazy, few months with, yeah, we've certainly never been this busy as a
Hmm.
team. And which, yeah, while we feel for all those that are suffering in business at the moment and the industry is changing and there's a lot of disruption in the economy. But yeah, from a personal viewpoint as a company, we've been really grateful for what's been
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, well, that's fabulous for you guys. So you've obviously worked with a lot of teams previously and over the last 6 years and now as well. What are some of the mistakes that you see that teams and small companies are doing when so they're not as productive as they can be? What are some things that you notice that appear in most businesses and in most teams?
The fundamental thing we noticed in lockdown, the cultures varied. And so there was some companies which people went home and didn't actually do much. And it was
Hmm.
all about the culture. And so the teams that actually were driven by a purpose and had a vision and they're all aligned and engaged around it, then they achieved more. So it's also about the leadership communication. If people, the leaders are listening to their
Mm-hmm.
team and building the trust, then they have that respect and there's this mutual sort of agreement or ability to perform. So that's one of the fundamentals noticed of teams, and it's so easy for the owner to go around sort of directing and bossing people around and not listening. And that's the culture of the older style, but the really successful companies have this culture and the technology to support high performance and everyone aligned, I guess, is the
Yeah.
major thing.
Mm. So a lot of it is communication between team members, but also coming down from the top down and from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, well, our model's around connecting the technology, people, and strategy. So it's about having the technology to communicate your vision and passion, and as a leader, and having everybody on the same page because we use the one-page plan concept.
Mm.
And it's around when you get everyone together and focused, both technology, strategy, and the leadership, that's when the magic happens
Mm.
because everyone sings on the same song sheet, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. You mentioned the one page plan. Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, it's onepageplan.com's the basic version. It's a coaching tool for executives that developed 14 years ago when I was trained as an executive coach. But it's developed into, we have a one-page strategy and one-page marketing. So it's really it's a business plan is the newer versions on one page, and so it's used for really focusing a business. So this is how we communicate the strategy within the team and how everybody gets onto one page. So if everyone's aligned, and it just makes a huge difference. So this we call it the one pages, and there's this collection of all these different tools, and it depends on what the focus is of the business. So there's one page tech as well, and so all these things help to align the team and get high performance.
Right. So it's taking all the ideas and putting them all on one page, summarizing everything so it makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, with the power of simplicity, and the model is about building trust, and we talk about the trust engine, which has linked all these pages together so that it's gone are the days where you're selling is the philosophy we use. If you have enough conversations with people and you add enough value, then it's about being then the authority where people chase you. And if you get the positioning right and then are the authority, then you just have conversations, add value, and you never sell, because you actually have an application process where people have to apply to be clients. So they chase you. And this is the shift in the market at the moment, building trust, using technology to really, because these days people do a lot of searches online. Unless you have the credibility and express things online, then they're not going to talk to you. And so the whole philosophy there that I could go into.
Yeah. So it changes the way, changing the way that business is being done. It's more about building trust between clients, customers, and the providing business.
Absolutely. So Amazon back in the early 2000s started at the Jeff Bezos with he talked of the flywheel, which is how they used to grow. It's shifting away from a sales funnel. A sales funnel is about turning leads into revenue, and the customer can be the afterthought. But the flywheel, or the trust engine model, which is what we use, is about building trust at all different levels and adding value. And when that's your focus rather than on profit and converting people, then it's just a different thinking. And if your whole team's focused on building trust and then adding value, then that's the different philosophy, and you're driven by purpose and a vision, and everyone's on the same page. That's where the power is to impact and grow.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And obviously, if it worked for Amazon, it should work for most businesses as well, just changing perspective.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If everyone's aligned and together, I was going to say on the same page, but I don't want to keep repeating that too much, then that's when the magic happens. Big believer in flow, and how what can be achieved is incredible now with the new technology and shifting ways you can do things, because that's the really interesting part.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting what you said about technology changing things right now. So what are some of the technology tools, or some of the ideas that you see now that teams and small companies are working with, that really make an impact to how the business is being run? So what are some of the tools?
Well, the fundamental thing is for a team is just don't use email to communicate with your team.
Okay.
It's just so inefficient. And there's some companies that actually don't even use email to communicate with their clients. Wow. And replacing it with Slack. So it's Microsoft Teams is very good, or Slack, and it's getting into that better system of communicating internally. But the big and really interesting thing is the way AI impacts the tools that you use. And there's various different bots that work with Slack, for example, to automate things. And it's around getting clear about what workflows you have in your business and what can be automated and what is manually processed. And so, yeah, there's some incredible new tools that are real game changers, because we're in a massive time of so much change, whether you're looking at the economic environment and technological environment. So the really sharp businesses are the ones that are changing and evolving and understanding the new tools, really.
Yeah, yeah. So with AI, with artificial intelligence, what are some things that you see that businesses are doing?
Well, the fundamental and simple, well, it's the simplest, but as having a bot on, well, a chat bot on your website. And that's just a must for any business to capture leads, because if someone comes to your website and they don't have a conversation with you, because this is all about conversations now,
Yeah,
then you miss out on them. And so a simple way is just using Messenger, and because they can have you have their details if they put in a question, even if you don't actually answer for some time. But there is AI that can communicate and do amazing things in that chatbot. So you don't actually, if you're a small business, you don't actually need a team of people running the chatbot. There is a lot of stuff you can do, but there's all different areas where AI is changing tools, and there's grants that are available for businesses to get AI funding, and there's all sorts of interesting things happening in the space. It's a matter of just looking at what manual processes can be automated, and that's the philosophy, and linking it together with some of the new tools to make business easier to get more productivity.
yeah, yeah. So AI in some ways is replacing call centers where people will call to ask questions. Is that kind of how things are shifting to?
It is in some areas, and I don't think it'll replace completely people, but there is a trend to there's some really amazing automation that's happening in for call centers. Yeah, so it's shifting. Some people have a real fear of AI is going to lose jobs, but it's just shifting. There's
Yeah,
new opportunities occurring, and just like at the moment with the economy, things are changing, and there's just those that are smart and doing well are changing and evolving their approach and looking at the different opportunities in the market today.
yeah, yeah. So speaking about COVID and what is happening right now, are you seeing changes in how people run their business in New Zealand right now as a result of COVID?
Definitely, people are just looking at what's working. There's so many people that have had success with people working from home if they have the right culture, and so they're changing that, which means they need some better technology often to collaborate, because just like we talked of earlier with Slack, it's things like you collaborate in the cloud, your documents, you don't email documents anymore with a general. And so, yeah, there's some definite things in the thinking of businesses, and because it's about looking at what's important to you. So many people during COVID have sort of stopped and gone into lockdown and looked at how they can change. And so COVID's all about connecting and connecting with your clients and yourself, and realizing what you want to do differently. That's the major thing that I'm noticing from the successful businesses.
So there's a lot more collaboration in a cloud rather than documents going back and forth. Things get stuck in the cloud, and then people go in and make changes and comment on that.
Yeah, well, it's a fundamental productivity thing with clients, that rather than emailing a document and then you've got so many different versions of the document, if you have it in the cloud, and then you can comment on it, or you can all work on it together. And the power of this is just so good, because you don't then have to find the latest version, and it's always in the cloud. You know where to find it without having to go through email. Just getting out of email can save hours of time for different people. Had one client that used to print out their emails and file them in paper. So it's going back well, it was recently, but they were going back to sort of some of the dinosaur ages.
Yeah. All right, so we've got the bot, we've got a lot of cloud collaboration. Is there anything else that you see coming into business?
Oh, well, if we just talk of one of its simple but fundamental productivity gains, is the inbox zero is the big thing, which if people are getting a lot of emails, it's taking control of the email inbox and thinking of your email inbox differently. It's not a storage center inbox, it's a distribution center. The best example is if you look at your physical letterbox outside the house or outside your apartment, and if you have 1,000 letters in that mailbox, stuck there and then some more arrived, it would be just mayhem. And so that's what inboxes are often like if they don't have the inbox zero. So the theory is any email that comes in that's more than 2 minutes to reply, you then put it either into a folder or even better with one click into a project management or distribute it to the rest of your team. And you get into this feeling of control of your inbox instead of just fighting it, which is so common. It's a big, huge productivity game. Because it's all about getting into flow, and that's our philosophy with technology and business. When you get in flow, it's about feeling in control and having the confidence to know that's all happening when it's supposed to happen. And this is where the technology supports the growth and the productivity rather than this frantic. It's the opposite. Flow is frantic, which is so easy to get into with so much happening.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm going to ask you a really hard question now, because I'm going to ask you to become a fortune teller and see from the changes, from things that you're seeing happening right now with technologies and how they change businesses and the way teams operate. Are there any trends that you see that are shifting over that will happen in the next few years that you recommend people should look into and start to implement some things, obviously other than coming to talk to you about it? But is there anything that you would say, hey, look, this is a trend and we should be aware of it?
About being unique in the market. So one of the key things that people more and more buy from people that they obviously trust, but it's so easy now to start a website and build a brand, but it's the story behind the brand. So the key thing is to be really clear about your why and why you have the business, but more importantly, it's what drives you. Because in business, COVID and all sorts of things have really sorted out the authentic businesses, and people as buyers are moving to wanting to know who's behind the brand and who's authentic. So it's actually building the unique positioning and being perceived as the expert in the space. And that is a key, more general sort of a thing that is sorting out, because so many businesses are going to go out of business, and so many already have. And it's then shifting the thinking and looking at how we're different or how you're different as a business and positioning yourself there. Because one thing's certain is change at the moment. And the ones that are doing well are looking to evolve and take advantage of the shift and changing attitudes and the needs and being positioned as a unique brand. And it's the blue ocean strategy, getting out into the unique blue ocean where there's not competition and being able to dominate that rather than being with the sharks and being chomped up, which is really so that's what I'm seeing in the market, is the people that are doing well, and it's the big companies that don't always adjust so quickly. So there's real opportunities for the little guys to evolve, and that's a bit of a trend.
So smaller companies are adjusting really quickly, figuring out what's happening and go and create their brand, look at their unique values and become or sell themselves as that.
Yeah, because the key thing for growth is conversations, and this is our philosophy: is that you don't sell these days. You just have a lot of conversations, and if you have enough conversations, and then you don't look to get anything in return, but if you have enough conversations and add value, and you're uniquely positioned, and you have your branding correctly digitally, then you have the authority, and then you get people chasing you. And this is the shift in thinking, because if you get that right, then, and LinkedIn's one of the fundamental things that most of our clients use to really get a lot of leads, and that is where so much of the business is at for growth. Yeah.
Fabulous. Rob, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And there's a lot of comments, a lot of information here that I know will be valuable for people who will be watching this. So if people want to get hold of you and ask you more questions, there's obviously the Unboxed brand. It's the back in your background. But how can people get hold of you?
Yeah, Unbox Performances or unboxperformance.com, my personal blog, which is CRobertson.com, where I talk about emotional fitness and technology. They're the two big passions, which is links together the whole productivity. So that'd be the best ways. Or LinkedIn, Robert C. Robertson. So good
Fabulous.
connecting with anybody.
Excellent. Rob, thank you so much. Continue to have a busy day today, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time. Interesting.